Hey guys, welcome back to Creative Restorations. My name is Doug Giles. In my last video, I showed you how to go about tightening the pockets on a Brunswick table. And by the way, that trick doesn't just work on Brunswick tables. It will work with Brunswick, Olhausen, Connolly, you name the manufacturer of the table, and it'll work on it. If you want your table to play like a diamond table, be sure to go back and check that video out because I show you exactly how to go about tightening the pockets on there to make it play like a diamond. Now, when we did the work on that pool table, well, we had to recover the table as well. So we decided we were just going to go ahead and do one big long video and then chop it up into two separate segments for you guys. Because half of you guys would probably be interested in my last video showing how to tighten the pockets, and then this video. It's probably going to be more of you that are interested in seeing how to go about recovering your table. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because there are some other things that I really need to tell you before you just go jumping into ripping the cloth off and trying to replace it on your table. If you go to do that, it's probably not going to work out all that well for you. So stick around to the very end and I will give you some additional tips. So without further ado, let's get into recovering the pool table. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to start taking everything off of the top of the table, and that includes any covers or balls or anything like that, because it's really difficult to recover a table when you got stuff on top of it. So I'll go around and I'll start pulling all of the nuts and washers off. Now, this is a table that we were actually moving to a different section of the room. And while I'm busy doing this, David goes through and he'll start pulling the fingers on the pockets and getting those loose. And like I said, this is a table that we were moving to a different section of the room, and I'm not going to show us moving the table. We've got another video for that. So once all the pockets are loose on there and all the bolts are out, we'll go ahead and we'll flip our rails over and we'll start taking all of our pocket bolts out. And even if we're just recovering a table, I make sure to put all of our hardware in a separate bag. Try to keep everything nice and organized. And then once we've got all the pockets out, next thing to do is come along and start plucking all of our staples. Now, you want to make absolutely certain that you get every single one of those staples out from those rails, because it does make it difficult if you shoot the new staples in and you hit one of the old staples. It'll just curl right back up on you. And I use a pair of wire cutters to just go back in and pull every one of those staples. We do this for all 6 rails. So once we've got the rails all stripped, I'll go in, and the fastest way to get the cloth off is just to cut it off. So I cut all the way around the table. And as you can see, the table's up against a wall, so it made it a little bit difficult for us. We'll go over to the other side and we'll finish cutting. And that center section of cloth that I just cut out, just leave it there, and that's where we're going to throw all of our trash. Now, right in the center, in between each of the pockets, I go in and I just cut a slit. Just like that. And then rip each one of those slits that I cut, just go back in and rip it apart. Now, once we've got that, take the two ends and pull right towards the pocket, grab both pieces and just jerk. I mean hard. Hold on to it hard and just jerk straight down. Now, usually some staples will get left behind in the table once you do that. It's no big deal. David gets the last one there. Like I said, if there's staples that's left behind, it's no big deal. You just take your wire cutters and go back around and start pulling all of those out. Now, you see me in the background, you know, pulling the screws. This is not something that you would need to do. You know, as I said before, we had to move the table. If all you're doing is recovering the table, you would leave the slate screws in. So you can see there, we left that cloth in the center, threw all of our trash in there, and then you just roll it all up and everything stays nice and pretty. So once you get it to that point, our rails are stripped and the bed cloth is off. We'll go ahead and we'll recover our rails. And I start by laying out all 6 of my rail pieces, all of my rail fabric. You want to look for the side that says face, and you want that facing down. And then we'll put our feather strip in. And you don't want to leave too much excess. You want a little bit of excess on the rubber side of the feather strip, but not too much. So we'll go ahead and we'll pound that in, pound our feather strip in nice and flat. If it has a tendency, sometimes it'll have a tendency to not want to go all the way in, and you use a pounding block and go right across that feather strip. And then go back in and trim away the excess. Again, from the rubber end, the rubber side of the feather strip. Now, right at the end of the cloth, I usually just cut at about a 45-degree angle. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about a side pocket or an end pocket. And then you come back and take your pounding block and pound in the feather strip the rest of the way. Now, this is important. Always start at the middle. Put 1 tack right in the middle. When you're doing a side pocket, you're going to put 3 tacks right at the end. And you always want to pull out and away. Pull towards the back and out to the side. Now, the fold on here, all you have to do is fold it back, and you're going to fold the little bit of cloth from the feather strip in, so you're just going to lay it over, and then from the nose of the rail, you're just going to tuck it back in. And then put 3 staples across the side, and then 2 staples right behind your rail facing. There are a couple of other ways of doing it, but this is the way that I found works best for me. Now, your corner pockets, basically you're going to do the same. Your feather strip end of the cloth, just fold it over, put 2 tacks on behind your rail facing, and then on the top you're gonna go again out to the side and straight back. Now, usually what I'll do, and I'll show you on the next rail, it'll be a little easier to see your corner pocket. It'll be a little easier to see the corner of the rail on the next one that I go to do. Once we've got that, we'll go ahead and we'll check it, make sure everything is good. If you notice, my little yellow sticker that lets me know what my top side is still on there. So we'll go back behind and trim off our excess. Get that off of there. One last little cut right there. So again, we're going to start at the middle. Now this is the next rail. We'll start at the middle, put one tack in, 3 tacks. That's a side pocket. Fold over our cloth and then drop our cloth right back, line up our end, and then pull and tack 3 staples, and then 2 on the right behind the rail facing. Now, since this is Tour Edition 3030, I do put a few extra staples in. Helps to even out the pressure along the it helps to even out the pressure and not get dimples on the nose of the rail. So 2 staples right behind the rail facing, and then we're going to drop 1 staple. We're going to pull out and away, and every single one, every time we grab a little bit of cloth, we go out and away. And I use the nose of the staple gun and push forward, and that keeps that wrinkle right behind the staple. Now, if you notice, I didn't get all of it out. I got most of it, and then I start back at the middle of the table, or middle of the rail, and I pull back toward, towards the apron and towards the middle of the rail. So I'm working that little bit of a wrinkle back out towards the center of the rail, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And then we'll go in and we'll trim off our excess. Now, if I lose you on all of this, if all the explanations, if I lose you on my explanations, my verbal explanations, feel free to go back and rewind a little bit and go in slow motion to watch how I do it. So we've cleaned off the top of the table again, swept it down, and then we roll out our cloth. I'll get David on one side and I'll get on the other. We'll shake out the cloth, make sure there's no strings or anything like that, no threads on the underside. And we'll fold it together and then sweep it lightly across the table. And this makes sure that this is just to make sure that there's nothing left on top of that slate. So we'll lay out our cloth. Now, I do a Z pattern. I put a few extra staples right by the pocket. And I'm getting old. I don't want to jump up and down every time, so I scoop my lazy butt across the floor. Now we're going to pull straight back and relatively tight. And then hold it in place. And then usually I'll put 6 staples right there at each corner. Now, like I said, it's a Z pattern. So you do one corner, you go to the other corner on the same side, then you go to the diagonal corner, and I'm pulling diagonally. Now once we've got that, we're going to pull backwards. We're going to go back to our first side. We're going to pull back and then stretch the cloth back towards the center pocket. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side, but this time we're also going to be pulling towards the other side. Again, this is to give a little bit of slack right in the corner, in the side pockets. Get David to throw some more staples in there for me while I'm holding that. So once we've got that, we'll go ahead and catch our ends. And we're going to stretch and leave a little bit of slack right in the pocket. The objective is always to pull your slack into the pockets. While we're on that side of the table, we'll go ahead and we'll get the head. And that cloth's already pretty tight. We haven't even done the sides yet. It's already pretty tight. Now, this is the time I usually go in. While I'm on that side, I'll go ahead and I'll do my corner pockets. Bring the funk back. And if you notice, I'm using my staple gun upside down. And there's a reason for that you'll see when we go to do the opposite side. So we'll catch this corner. And I'm actually stapling the cloth almost underneath the underside of the frame. And I'll fold back the sides where the excess is, and then I pop 5 staples going straight on. Now here you'll get a better view of what I'm doing. And you'll see right there, you see that little bit of wrinkle that's right there at the pocket? That's my excess. That's what I want. I want my excess to be right there in the pockets. And that helps me to bend that cloth around. Now here's where you get to see exactly what I mean by that. You see I'm going underneath the cloth, and I'm using the head of that staple gun to help me pull down and push underneath that frame. I'll take and I'll fold back my corners. And then pop 5 staples in. and do the opposite. The last corner pocket, same way. I think I had a misfire with my gun there, and I had a staple that didn't quite want to cooperate, didn't go in all the way, so I got to pull it back out. Maybe two of them. And I tell you, that pneumatic stapler is a lifesaver. Alright, so once I've got all my four corners done, and I've got my head rail, the head of the table and the foot of the table done, we'll go ahead and we'll catch our sides. And if you notice, there's little gaps where the rail bolts go, and I just staple on either side, like that. Split the difference. Pop a staple in. Split the difference. Go on either side. Split the difference, pop a staple in, then one more right there, and then we'll move on to the next rail, next section. So I go right in the middle, pull it down, pop one staple on either side of that cutout, one staple on either side of the cutout, go right in between, pop a staple, go in between the two cutouts, pop a staple. And you know, you don't have to go overboard with these staples. If you go overboard with staples, that means you just have to pull them back out when next time you go to recover it. They're really, you know, putting double rows of staples all the way around the table, it doesn't do a thing for you. And basically I'm doing the same thing on the opposite side, except I'm really pulling hard on that cloth to stretch it. You know, I've said this in other videos, you know, going overboard with staples, you know, you're not trying to hold together the Eiffel Tower or, you know, build a cruise ship or anything like that. All you're doing is holding cloth. So that's pretty much the bed there. We're going to go around and we'll cut off all of our excess. Cut out for our pockets first. Actually, we just start at the one pocket and work all the way around the table. And carefully cut it out. And there we go. And then I go ahead and I'll cut out two strips from that waste material that we had. I'll cut out two strips. And then I go about 1/4 of an inch away from the slate in that center pocket. In your side pockets, go about 1/4 of an inch, right dead smack in the middle of the pocket. Cut one slit, and then split the difference from there to the edge of the slate. And again, 1/4 of an inch away from it, and then cut basically just 3 release cuts, about 1/4 of an inch away from the slate. And I tell David, go ahead and start cutting out the holes for our rail bolts, because we're almost done. Now, right at the moment, I'm just going in and putting that strip of cloth right underneath and cut off our excess. And then, as always, work from the middle, work your way out. And you'll get a better shot of what I'm doing when we do the opposite pocket. Go in and clean up all of our little tabs that we have underneath there so that we have a nice clean install of the cloth at every one of the pockets. Now here we go, we're looking for the top side of our cloth, and we're going to put the top side facing out, and we'll align the slate. And that way when you look inside the pocket, you don't ever see any slate or anything like that. Get a fresh stick of staples. Cut off our excess of that for that pocket liner. Fold our release cuts in, our tabs in, and we're going to start from the middle and work our way out. Now we'll flip our staple gun upside down. First, before we do that, we're going to clean up any loose threads. And then we'll flip our staple gun upside down and staple up underneath, right on a 45-degree angle. Fold back our excess, put one tack, fold back our excess, put one tack, and then we'll go in and trim off our excess. Make sure you trim off any loose threads or anything like that. And then once we've got that, David will go around and he'll finish up cutting our holes or our X's, whatever we happen to need, right at the rail bolt. And it's a really good idea to feel from underneath to make absolutely certain that you're only cutting out the holes for your rail bolts, because it's real easy to go a little bit too far in and catch one of the holes for the slate screws. So now that we've got everything covered, we'll go back and lay out our pockets. And we'll get started laying out our rails. And again, you always want to do the rails in two separate halves. You don't ever want to assemble all of your rails at the same, all together at once, because that's a real good way of cracking the rails right there at the side pockets. So once we've got all of that, we'll go back in and we'll attach our pockets. And once all the pockets are done, we'll go in and put our studs in for the rails. Just a few quick turns. And then we'll put the rails, flip over one side. And David dropped the bolt. So then we'll drop our rail in, right in our rail holes, bolt holes, flip over the other side. Make sure our fingers for our pockets, all of our leather's out of the way, and David will go around and start laying out our hardware. And then we'll start putting our nuts and washers on, and then go around and start tightening everything up. And David will go around and start stapling up the fingers for the pockets. And then the final touch, we need to put a spot on. So what I do is I go dead center at the head rail, go to the opposite end, pull it tight, put another piece of duct tape across there, and go to my second diamond. Go to my second diamond, and basically I'm making a cross on there, and then where those 2 points intersect, that's where our spot goes. And that's pretty much it. Then the customer goes in and he's going to check it out and hit a few balls on it. Missed the first shot. This was actually that table that we tightened up those pockets on it, and yeah, I think he had a little bit of a hard time with his first shot. But the second one, he nailed it.
Well, there you have it. That's how you recover a pool table. But wait, hold on a second. Before you just go in there and start pulling the rails off your table and ripping the cloth off, let me tell you a little secret. It ain't as easy as it looks, okay? There's an old saying, it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. And trust me, I've probably got triple that amount of time in learning how to recover pool tables. So I really do. I make it look easier than what it actually is. It's really difficult to convey to someone how hard or how loose to pull that cloth, how much tension you actually need to put on that cloth when you're going to reupholster. If you pull it too much, you're going to end up with dimples in your rails. If you pull it too little, you're going to end up with ripples in the cloth. Conversely, when you're going to do the bed cloth on your table, when you're stretching it from side to side or from one end to the other, if you don't stretch it quite enough, well, again, you're going to end up having ripples that show up in your cloth, especially on more moist days. When you've got high humidity, there's a real good chance that you're going to end up with ripples in your cloth. If you go to pull it too much, you're not going to have enough give when it comes to the pockets to make those bends. You know, you've got those turns in the pockets. And yes, on the side pockets, we do cut release cuts, but on the corner pockets right here, you know, I don't actually cut any release cuts. Everything is nice and smooth going across. It's the same cloth going all the way down with no release cuts whatsoever. And, you know, although this video will get you closer to being able to achieve that, you probably won't achieve it when you go to do your pool table. So just keep that in mind. Also, there are some other brands of tables out there, some like older Brunswicks, where the corner pockets are cut at a much tighter radius. You're probably going to have to cut release cuts in that as well and add a liner into the covering up the slate. Just like I did with the side pockets on here, you'll probably have to do the same thing with the corners. So keep that in mind. As always, I would encourage you, like I have with moving a pool table, I encourage you to reach out to a pool table professional and have them give you a price. And, well, I would encourage you to have them do the work if you want the best job you can get. If you want to fumble with it yourself, fumble through it yourself, you'll probably get through it, but I promise you, you will not achieve. Well, it's pretty rare that a novice will achieve the same results that a trained professional will. So there you go. That's how you recover a pool table. We do have in the upcoming video, the next video that we have coming up is going to be the completion, well, part 2 of the outdoor pool table. And then part 3 of it is going to be the completion of it. I'm hoping to have that uploaded just after Christmas, hopefully between Christmas and New Year's. So anyway, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Like the video. If you don't like the video, tell me why. Write down in the comments, tell me why you didn't like the video. Did I miss something? If you did like the video, hey, reach out to me. Tell me how much you liked the video. Tell me what you'd like to see in the future. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to get notified every time I upload a new video. So until next time, you guys take care and see you on the next video.